right, I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting for Monday, May 20, 2024 to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gaffino.
Here.
Trustee Christensen.
Here.
Trustee Curtis. Trustee Gately.
Here.
Trustee Lowry.
Here.
Trustee Nedved.
Here.
Trustee Salazar. Here.
All right, thank you. Audience comments, trustee comments. Item 1 under discussion, Steve.
Thank you. Item number 1 tonight is new patrol squad car designs. I'm going to hand it over to Joe in a second, and he's going to walk you through the process. Just an opportunity as we're getting new squad cars. We're getting Dodge Durangos for the first time. Slightly different body. They look very similar, but it gave an opportunity to look for a team building exercise. So we let the police department come together and actually design. And Joe's going to walk you through that, but they did a really nice job of coming up with lots of different options and voted on it internally.
Thank you, Steve. So we had a group of officers, including myself and administration, because we wanted to make sure it would be acceptable. There was nothing that would stand out that would cause a stir within the community. One of the officers has a friend who's a graphic designer, so we asked for his assistance. And what you see before you is a highly visible and clean design. Not that one. That one, a lot of staff, when I became chief, said the issue with the current squad car design is that it's hard to see with the subdued graphics. Back when they created that design, that was the way of these hide in the shadows, sneak up, traffic enforcement. Now you want to be more highly visible. The design incorporates the darker blue village branding accent color. If you go to the next, there you go. So as you can see, it's a lot brighter. The only change, what we're going to have to do, and I missed this, is we're going to remove the badge on the back of the squad and put the squad number. So say somebody's driving inappropriately or doing something, you're trying to identify that squad car. If you don't have the number on the back, you don't know which one it is. We also have the squad number on the top on the roof for air support. They can identify whatever squad is in the area. The new design is not expected to impact the operating budget, as all new marked squads have money budgeted for graphics. The new design will be phased in with each new vehicle. And if we identify any available funds during the year, we will do more if possible. Staff is soliciting feedback from the board prior to implementing the squad car design.
In this picture is the 7/8 squad car number?
Yes.
Okay. I really like the white because I agree with.
More silver.
Oh, is it silver? Okay,
yeah,
okay.
but it's a bright silver.
But the brightness of
Mhm.
that, I think is, because I have a officer drive by, I don't know what officer it is, but someone drives by my house every day, and really, unless I'm looking, I don't really know that it's a squad car because it's so dark.
I think I'm immune to the fact of seeing it all the time, but then when you see it on the screen, you're like, whoa, they're
This
right.
is much better and much more visible.
Yep.
We're good.
Good.
Could you put the number on the window instead of removing the badge if you really wanted it?
We could, but something with the tint in the back,
Oh,
and when you're opening and closing, it gets chipped a lot. So, because we even thought about moving the flag above the line to the window, and they didn't recommend doing that.
gotcha.
Good to
All
go.
right. Yep, good.
I like
Thanks,
it.
chief. Yeah, it looks
I
great.
like it.
All right, item 2, Steve.
Item number 2, as you know, since Nathan has been here, we've been doing some cleanup of our code. He recently just upgraded our building code to 2021 building codes, and we did restructure our permit fees. And, you know, just like anything, when you go through something one time and it's a massive project, you go back a few weeks later and you're looking, you're like, you know what? I think we should have changed a few more things. So I'm glad Nathan did, because he's trying to find ways to make it easier and cheaper for residents in certain permits. So with that, Nathan's going to go through development fees.
Okay, so currently we have fees for development all over the code. Pretty much every chapter has some kind of fee in it. The 3 I'm kind of starting out with, so building permit fees, which you all saw last year were updated in 1556. In chapter 3, we have development deposits. These are the escrow accounts developers set up to pay for publishing, engineering reviews, legal reviews, things like that. That was last looked at in 2005. And then the zoning code fees. So if you're getting a variance or a special use, those fees are actually an appendix in the zoning code. And there are things missing, like site plan doesn't, it's blank, has nothing. So there's, as I started looking through it, they're all over the place and they have outdated and some strange stuff in there. So my proposal is to move it all into the 1556. So 1.0 would be the building permit fees, 2.0 the deposits, 3.0 the planning and zoning fees. You know, right now, on other development fees include like water tap-ons. So right now EEI is doing a water study. Eventually, at a later date, we'll have to look at those things too, tap-on fees, water connection rates. But my thought was I could just add a 4.0 or a 5.0 and I could keep just adding it right here. So it's all in the one section. So we can really try to make it easier for not only myself, but developers trying to figure out what they need to do here. But this proposal is just hit these first three. The building permit fees, just a couple of minor tweaks. So by and large, you know, those were looked at last year and moved into the tiered chart levels. By and large, that has worked great. It's been easy to implement, easy to, you know, track down what you owe, and much less confusing than the old system. A couple of things we've heard from residents. So the prefabricated pergolas and gazebos, the things you can get at Menards or American Sale or something like that. We were charging $175. They were a tier 2. That's really more if you're building it yourself and you're going to have a framing inspection. We're going to be out there a couple times. The prefab ones, we just go out there one time to make sure it's fastened, you know, secured to the ground and won't blow away. So I created a new column for prefab pergola and moved it up to the $75 level. So that's one that we've gotten a lot of feedback from residents. Also, you know, the tier 1 $75 level. So that's fences, patios. You know, those are $75 permits. A reinspect. So if you fail and have to come back, reinspection fees are $100. And that was just the reinspect fee for every level. Again, we've heard from residents, you know, my fence permit only costs $75. I got to pay $100 for you to come back out and look at it. So we're creating some tiered level reinspection. So a tier 1 reinspection, $25, just to try to line that up a little bit better. The other things we did were just clarifying how we calculate square footage, how we do rounding, deposits, a lot of things that we were doing, but just adding all the clarification languages. You know, as we've been going through a year of implementation, people ask, well, where do you get this number or that number? But by and large, the chart is staying the same, just with those couple of tweaks. And then on the development deposit, the escrow and the zoning fees, you know, in both cases, summarizing everything into a chart. The existing language on the escrow deposit was paragraphs and paragraphs of confusing stuff. So summarizing it into a chart, updating it for current practices, removing outdated language, and creating a larger PUD category. So many of the projects you see here, we approve as PUDs, and that ordinance has multiple things in it. It'll have a map amendment, special use, you know, a plat, all in that one ordinance. So instead of, you know, those are all listed out. So if you just get a special use, there's one fee. Then there's a larger fee for PUD, and it includes everything. So you don't have to go pay each list. It's you pay the PUD fee and it includes everything that we're going to have in that ordinance, which is more in line with how we do most of the development around here. And then I added, you know, lines for all the things that didn't have lines before. So, you know, that's kind of the summary. And again, in the future, hopefully I can bring in some of the other things like tap-ons and just keep adding them to this one section and have a one-stop shop is the goal.
Jason or Nathan, I looked through a lot of those and I do have one question, which
Sure.
apparently wasn't changed from before. It's always been this way, but I noticed that an outdoor door, is that like your front door? Was $250 for the permit. And I can tell you this, my inexpensive front door cost $250 at Menards, the whole thing. So I was just wondering if that was a little bit high for a door, unless it's a special kind of door, you mean?
Yeah, so the door exterior, 250, that's under non-residential.
That'd be a commercial door.
That'd be like
Oh, okay.
a
Got
strip
it.
mall.
Different animal.
Thank you. All right. more sense. I think, but it's awfully high. All right.
You know, one of the unique things about
It came up before.
our code, just like other towns have their own codes, back before 2013, we didn't have as many PUDs because in 2013, the zoning code changed and it required anything with 2 acres or more to become a PUD by design. So just the amount of properties that come in that are 2 acres or more, any development's going to be 2 acres or more. So we have lots of PUDs. But what's really unique is we grew so fast in the 90s, early 2000s. I remember when I got here, the number's probably gone up and down a little bit depending on which ones have expired, but excuse me, we had 37 annexation agreements, I think, when I started here, and each annexation agreement has its own listing of different fees and schedules and tap-ons and things like that are negotiated at the time of annexation. You know, Kevin can attest to that because he's written all of them.
Yeah,
but
it was a mess.
it's really hard. And so anytime there's a question that comes up with the developer, the first thing Nathan has to do is he has to go back first to make sure it's not in an annexation agreement. Then he can go to the code. But it's nice to have it all in one spot.
It's like the
Yes,
signage at Fortunato, right? That was allowed in there, and he can have vegetation around the pond or whatever it is. It was approved at that time.
Unique
So
to him.
it's different than the current code.
This all started because someone asked me, what would a permit fee in Autumn Ridge be? And it took me like 3 hours to figure it out. I had to pull the annexation agreement and go to all the different sections. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I
Shouldn't be
can't-"
that hard.
You're right.
And that's because if I remember, Autumn
Oh,
Ridge's
it's
annexation just
a lot of
expired or
development.
is. So now that once an annexation agreement expires with Autumn Ridge only building 1 or 2 houses, now that it's expired recently, we go to the code now. So everything is code based all of a sudden. So it was easy if someone called a year ago, he could just pull out the annexation agreement and be like, here's your fee schedule. But now it's gone. And so now he has to go to the code and redo all the fees for that subdivision.
Well, it sounds fair and it sounds simpler, so that's a good thing.
Any other comments?
No, good to go.
That's good. All right. Concludes our discussion. Need a motion to go to exec session to discuss personnel and collective bargaining.
Gonna go to the exec session.
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose the same. All right. Thank you.